In the 2021 season, the Washington Wizards were a roller coaster, to say the least. And now they're out of the playoff picture, I think the idea of what they should actually do with themselves needs to come into question. They aren't a team that seems to have their eyes on a rebuild, and despite them playing well at the end of the season, they're still a long way from being a contender. I think this team is at a crossroads when it comes to which of these paths to take, so I want to take a look back on the Wizards season this past year and figure out what they should do to get out of their current predicament. Alright, let's rewind to the beginning of the season, where the Wizards were down bad despite Bradley Beal's best efforts. Like, we all remember seeing this man tear up after each loss, and who could blame him? This dude dropping 50 was seen as a regular occurrence, yet it wasn't achieving a thing. And by the time we were in April, they were 17-32, a 13th seed, and it was a pretty common consensus that this team was a horrific failure. A rebuild would have been imminent had they maintained this trajectory. But then, out of nowhere, these motherfuckers went ballistic. Going on a 17-6 run, getting the same amount of wins in less than half of the games. Needless to say, in the latter part of the season, this team really got their shit together, and they made us rethink if they should actually rebuild or not. The question is, how telling of the future is that run? How much more potential does this team have, and is it enough to make them a contender? First off, the 17-6 run. I feel like the win-loss ratio makes people jump the gun way too quickly on this one. It's really easy to think if they win at that rate for a whole season, they'd be the best team in the league. But it's a little more complex than that. If you look at who they actually beat in those 17 games, you'd see it's kind of a different case. Out of those 17 wins, only 3 of them were against teams that finished the season above the 8th seed, and one of those 3 was against the starless Lakers, who may as well have been a lottery team at the time. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't improve near the end of the season, but I don't think that these changes would make them any higher than a 6th seed had they started the season in their current form. This team either needs to blow it up or improve, and how much they can improve lies in their potential. If we're talking about potential on the Wizards, then we got to address the 6'3" elephant in the room here, which is Russell Westbrook, who is unfortunately a diminishing asset at this point in his career. I swear that as a player, there is nobody more controversial and has the narrative changing more for themselves than this man. And the most devastating narrative for him is people saying that he may have the stats on paper, but it doesn't result in wins, which I personally think was at its worst at the start of the season due to how the Wizards were performing. Russ before the All-Star break was averaging 21, 10, and 10, but had a negative box plus minus because of how god awful his efficiency was. After the All-Star break, however, we saw him step up his game to something almost unseen. 23, 13, and 13 on better efficiency, got himself a positive plus minus, and the Wizards started winning more. And yup, we all heard the news that when this dude was playing like trash at the start of the year, it was because he had and was recovering from a torn quad, which put a lot of the comments saying that he's washed to sleep. At least for now. I think we really got to move away from the idea that he doesn't win. We've seen him reach the highest stage of basketball competition in the past, and instead, I'd say a better way to phrase it would be that his team success is dictated by how well he plays. He was playing worse and now he's better, and what do you know, they started winning more. So taking everything into account, how much longer is he going to be able to play at a high level for? Westbrook is most effective at scoring when he can show off his athleticism in full, getting to the rim whether it be off the dribble or on a fast break, and as you're seeing on the screen, this dude still got it. His point production has gone down, but that's to be expected when you're sharing the court with Bradley Beal. When we're talking about the future though, Father Time we all know stays undefeated. Maybe. What makes Westbrook such a great player though is that if you take this dude's athleticism away, you still have someone who can run the offense, a solid passer, and obviously a natural leader. The doozy here though is his contract. My God. Quite frankly, with a contract like this, I genuinely think that if Washington is able to get rid of this contract, then they should. That way, they gain much more cap space that could go to getting younger and less injury-prone players, or get a player with the same contract but with more worth to the team. Do I think that anyone will want to trade for Westbrook? No sir. Simply put, Westbrook is in his least wanted stage of his career. He is on the decline and his contract is huge. The moment this contract ends, however, he will become a much wanted asset because of his smaller contract combined with what he brings to the table, as I said earlier. So yeah, I think Westbrook is here to stay. Bradley Beal. Even though the Wizards season improved as time went on, I still feel that the free Bradley Beal comments are warranted. Because if the Wizards don't make any changes and you have a player in his prime on a team that will not make it out of the East. If we are looking at this situation in a purely practical sense, I think that the best move to make for both the Wizards franchise and Beal is to trade this dude while he's at his peak. Beal was a scoring champ runner-up and an all-star starter this year, so it's pretty clear that he'll be in high demand if you put him on the trade market. I suppose this is kinda spoiling my conclusion, but realistically the Wizards have little to no chance of making a team that can make a title run with their current assets. So if they want to make the most out of their current situation, they should trade Beal for heaps of draft picks ideally. If the Wizards get rid of Russ and Beal, then their team is composed of the other guys. Now, don't get me wrong, the Wizards have some solid players such as Hachimura, Lopez, Bryant, and Bertans, but those players are hardly going to fill out a stadium, which is what makes a rebuild so unattractive to a franchise. Lottery teams simply are not fun to watch, and if you don't have a star, you're not going to attract fans and therefore will get less revenue, which is personally why I think the Wizards won't blow it up. And Washington is privileged in my opinion because they have star players that are happy to stay with your franchise, with Beal and Westbrook seeming to get along great and the chemistry together keeps getting better and better. What scares me, however, is that they'll settle for this situation. We all know the Wizards are never making a run in their current form, so I feel that if no changes are made, they'll just sit at around the 7th seed until contracts start expiring and they continue to be mediocre for the foreseeable future. What if hypothetically this team decided to go all in though? What could this team do to get the highest regular season seed and deepest playoff run possible? Win now, future doesn't matter. Well, obviously they have an offensive backcourt that doesn't need replacing, but if the Wizards want to be a contender, they need consistent defense and, more importantly, as Embiid demonstrated these playoffs, a paint-dominant big man. In an ideal world, the Wizards would get a player like Rudy Gobert, but this isn't 2K and the team is 20 mil over the salary cap. So here's what I think they should do. I'd like to clarify I'm no trade expert here, and a few things would need to go perfect for this to occur. But if the Indiana Pacers decide to go into rebuild mode, which is very possible in my opinion, then I would try to trade Davis Bertans plus as many draft picks as required to get one Domantas Sabonis. Then I wouldn't re-sign Ish Smith or Robin Lopez in free agency. Now I know what you're thinking. You're just another delusional 12-year-old trying to make another super team, and that's fair. But funnily enough, in order to get out of the East currently, you'll probably have to go through the Brooklyn Nets, of which are a super team. My solution is to fight fire with fire, and plus, this trade is very possible in my opinion when you look at the contracts of these two players. If Sabonis can replace Bertans, then we'll see two equally sized contracts get swapped for a huge skill increase. Sabonis is an improvement in every way besides perimeter shooting compared to Bertans. And in this case, we're only looking for someone who can help inside the paint where we're lacking. Sabonis brings solid paint defense, paint scoring, and is getting 12 boards a game, which I think will get the Wizards to the next level in the East. In the situation that this trade actually occurs though, a few things need to go right for this team to be in contention. Russ needs to stay healthy throughout the whole season, and they need to maintain the defense that they had during the second half of the season. Because if you look at the numbers here, you can see that the Wizards really picked up their slack in the defensive department. If these things happen, then I see the Wizards being, drumroll please, a 4th seed. This is why I never really thought the Wizards should go in my opinion. Because those top 3 teams are on a level that will not be reached just by making a trade or two, which is why I think a full rebuild is necessary. I see this hypothetical triple all-star combo getting to the second round, putting up a solid fight against the Bucks, Nets or Sixers, but falling short against all of them. So yeah, those are my 3 scenarios that I see happening. They'll either trade their stars for a rebuild, they'll be a mediocre perennial 7th seed team for the next however many years, or they'll go all in and get a 3rd star like Sabonis. I would recommend the first option. I think the Wizards will go with the second option, but I think the 3rd option will be the most fun. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This channel is in its infancy right now, so it would mean the world to me if you left a like or subscribed if you enjoyed the video. Like, if you leave a like, then I genuinely love you. You are the people I live for. If you think that the video was trash and you got any feedback on how I can improve them, then let me know, man. Like, that shit is what will allow me to bring you guys better and better content with each vid. I'm gonna try grind out videos whenever I can, and the playoffs are currently getting really good, so I'm gonna want to discuss a lot of what's going on there. This has been No Hops, and I'll see you in the next one.